our Sage customer panel. We're very honored to have three of our great customers, which are all great customers, willing to participate and help us today. Our panelists are Jeff Robinson with Vincent Lighting, Dana McLaughlin with Medical Services, and Sheila True with GLT Companies. And we notice on here, which is for you guys, you can follow us on Twitter. I actually tweeted 3 times while I was here today. That's pretty good. Old dog, new tricks. Like us on Facebook, please follow us on Facebook as well. And so again, what we're hoping, excuse me, after participating today in this session, that what you'll be able to get out of this, more than anything else, is how some of our very specific clients, 500, 2 Sage 100 clients, have grown their business and adapted to challenges and things that they've had ongoing in their business over the years and been able to leverage the software for new things, as well as gain some new ideas that you can hopefully take back to your businesses and implement when you get back. And then also so that you can look and change or add things to your system that you may not have thought about or that you can anticipate and add to your system so that you can meet those challenges. So I am going to turn this over to Jeff, and he's going to start. We're going to hold the questions till the end. And then we can have some questions coming back and forth. But if something really pressing comes up, it's okay. But let's try to keep it steady and keep it moving. Jeff?
Thanks, Frank. Vincent Lighting Systems, we've been in business for roughly 30 years. We're a little bit different in that we have multiple types of businesses. Wow, thanks, Frank. All right, now that I'm wired up. We have multiple types of businesses. We do wholesale distribution, retail. We have almost a little bit of a construction element. We have field service. Oh, and on top of that, we also have rental. We do all of that within one company in our system. So it really means as a system administrator, we have to make some tough choices. What may work on our retail side doesn't necessarily work on our service side. So it's a little bit of a balance and a compromise in some of the stuff that we do. We have 4 locations serving a primary 6-state territory, 50 full-time employees, plus some seasonal folks as well. Currently, this is what we have. This is not entirely accurate anymore. We started with Sage as sort of a backdoor customer. About 15 years ago, we purchased a product called Sales Logics that was once owned by a company called Interact Commerce, who then got purchased and became Best Software and then became Sage. And we were looking for a new accounting system, and we decided we would go ahead and go with Sage. We're currently getting ready to discontinue Sales Logics. We're actually going to be moving to Sage CRM, primarily because we want to see the integration. Right now, we're doing a lot of that integration sort of outside the system using Scribe. And the other thing that we've got that are an add-on that we currently don't have listed up there is Inventory Advisor, but we're still sort of in the testing mode with that. I will tell you, I'm an administrator. I had no knowledge when it comes to accounting. When my boss starts talking about debits and credits, as far as I'm concerned, those are cards in my wallet. I have no idea what they mean. Don't really care to. As a result of that, when we talk about the accounting side of it, I leave that to other people. How many of you in here are end users? Show of hands real quick. How many are CFOs, controllers, so on and so forth? How many are administrators like me? Okay. So here is the one thing that I can tell you when we look at all of these things. Whatever you're doing today, when you go back, please think about the 3 biggest pain points that you have. Your system is more flexible than any accounting system I've seen. I've seen some of the Microsoft products, and I've seen some other smaller vendors as well. The utility that you have at your access is incredibly high. You just have to know that it's there and know to ask for it. So one of the things that we have done is we had some needs here. We needed to be more productive when we were taking customer orders so that they could have a more meaningful conversation. And what that meant was there are a lot of fields on sales order entry on the header. I'm going to guess that not all of them are used by you or your company. Get rid of them. Suppress them. Take them off the tab stops. Whether or not you realize it, you and your users count how productive you are based on the number of mouse clicks, button clicks, and keystrokes that you have to make. So when you can remove 5 strokes, it actually makes you more productive and more happy. Maybe you need to change the order of your tab stops. You can do that through a product, through one of the modules called Custom Office. Most folks don't even know that it's there. But you can go in, you can customize your tab stops, you can add additional user-defined fields. I'll leave those to Sheila because she has a pretty good discussion on that one. And then there's some scripting that can be done. I am not the king of scripting. That man right there, Evan Wake, is the king of scripting. Make sure you get his email address because he's got some good stuff. As we sort of touched on, Visual Integrator, very, very important module. If you're not using it, look into it. Have your administrator look into it. It's very, very good for importing price lists, for making changes to certain things that you don't have a Sage utility for. Like one gentleman mentioned, I wanted to change my product line. Visual Integrator import can do that in 5 minutes. So it's pretty easy to go. The other thing that is the one thing that we can't live without is knowledge sync or alerts and workflow. But when that system is off, when that server fails on a nightly reboot, I know immediately because I'm getting phone calls from my people saying, hey, I didn't get my report. Hey, I didn't get my alert. You have a Crystal report right now in your system that it'd be great if it was just sitting in your inbox every morning. Would you like to have sales history, emailed out to your CFO or your CEO? Knowledge Sync's going to be the way to do it. Also, the great thing that people don't talk about when they talk about Knowledge Sync is it'll run against any database there is. It'll run against Exchange. It'll run against Mass. It'll run against anything that you've got. You just unlock the licensing for it, and it becomes a very, very good reporting tool. So it can be used not only for your financial side, it can be used for anything in your organization. And so far, it's the only thing that I know of that will report when itself is not working. So when Eric does the presentation on Knowledge Sync, it's definitely worth it. If you're not using it now, I highly recommend it. One of the things that we do with rental is that we have 3 major locations. We have a limited amount of inventory that we will then share between the 3 locations to be able to cover a customer's order. We need to be able to see what is available in the other 2 offices when we're asking for a customer's order. We may need to get that equipment in from another office. So what will happen is when they go in and they put in a rental order, if we do not have enough on hand for that particular warehouse to satisfy it, it will pop up and say that there is a loan request for one of the other 2 offices. The other 2 offices will then get an email alert. They'll go into the contract and approve or deny it as needed. So we use Knowledge Sync to give us that information on the scheduling to let us know what's going on, and more importantly, when we're overbooked. We never say no to a customer at Vincent Lighting. If a customer calls in and says they have to have it and they need 100 of them and we've only got 2, well, we're going to find some place to get the other 98. We may rent them from a friendly competitor. We may actually add them to our inventory if it's something that we need to do. But Knowledge Sync lets us know when we're getting into the danger zone. Credit card processing. Wow, that's a really sexy topic. We use Sage Payment Solutions. One of the things that we found out early on was we didn't use credit cards the way we should. And that was the pre-authorization versus post-authorization. This wasn't a topic that we all really understood very well in the beginning. And initially, credit cards were set up for universities, so on and so forth, so forth, but with the explosion of debit cards, so on and so forth, the fact that you can run your debit card at McDonald's, it became an issue when we were running a person's card and we were tying up a balance for weeks on end because we did not do what we needed to do. Our freight fluctuates wildly depending on what is going on. So what we had to do was we had to come up with a way that when we run the sales order, we add on a freight amount of $25 to $30 to cover the initial shipment. So what we do is our people go in, they put their freight amount in, they pre-authorize the card. As soon as the pre-authorization is done, there's a button that they click, it erases that freight amount, and then allows it to go into shipping where the real freight amount is processed. Because the real freight amount is less than we pre-authorized it for, the post-authorization goes through, releases the excess amount, and our customers are happy. We weren't doing that before, and what we were finding was that pre-authorization hung out there. So we were potentially tying up our customers' cards with double the amount of funds that we needed to. So we went in and did some basic scripting and got it accomplished pretty quickly. Also, we added UPS WorldShip with Crossware. For those of you that use UPS, it's a free thing. All you got to do is call them up and say, hey, I want it. And then they'll come in and they'll customize it. It goes in and it pulls the data directly out of the system based on the sales order number. So there is no double keying of the ship to or anything like that. So whatever they enter in as the ship to on the sales order, that's what goes into UPS. So the onus is on the person entering the order, not shipping if there's a screw up on where it ends up going. And again, that's free. For folks who are looking at the more expensive option, I advise you to check that out first, particularly if you're using UPS. That's it.
Thanks, Jeff. I know you have questions, but we're going to keep them just for a little bit and come back.
Good afternoon. I'm Dana McLaughlin, Vice President of Finance for Medical Service Company. Our head corporate office is located in Oakwood Village, right at Forbes and Broadway off 271. I've been with the company for 5.5 years. Just to briefly describe what we do, we take care of patients. Our patients come to us either directly from their physician or they're being discharged from the hospital or a nursing home facility or rehab facility, and they're in need of medical equipment in their private home setting. We get the referral from the physician or the hospitalist, and we meet the patient when they arrive home or sometimes at the hospital or the facility, and we will train them and set them up on oxygen, CPAP, beds, wheelchairs, nutritional product, and a lot of the power chairs and scooters that you see patients in. This allows them to have freedom of life, not have to stay in a facility, hopefully. And new technology and oxygen concentrator, a lot of times you'll see people in town with just a little small tank. Used to be they had to haul a cart behind them. So it's changing daily. We keep up and try to offer the best technology that we can. And the picture I have here is called a home fill unit. What that does is it allows the patient to actually fill those cylinders in their home. So we actually have technicians who take that equipment to the home. Respiratory therapists meet with the patient, sometimes they're caregivers, and we can train 70, 80-year-old people how to run that equipment in their home and fill their own tanks so that they can still go shopping and travel with family. And the other picture there I have, believe it or not, a large portion of our population has to put something like that on to sleep at night. Sleep apnea leads to one of the main causes and links to heart disease and stroke. So if someone is diagnosed in their 40s and 50s with sleep apnea, that can definitely prolong the lifespan. We do a large portion of business with Hospice of the Western Reserve, and we provide the end-of-life pharmacy medications, pain medications for patients in their home setting. We deliver to their home. We also provide the equipment. Our biggest revenue challenge, and we are always on a growth pattern, but our biggest revenue challenge is that our customer doesn't leave us out of choice. They leave us because they're at the end of their life. So it's a tough industry to be in. It's tough for me as a finance officer to talk about numbers when I'm talking about people's lifespan and how we can prolong it. So it's a balance, but we pride ourselves in actually our vision is medical service company, but we have on our trucks and many of our meetings we talk about our motto, which is caring for life. We're trying to bring benefit and value to people who want to have respect and dignity at the end of their days. We currently are at $32 million in annual revenue, and we've been in business since 1950. We are privately owned by the Marks family. Our current owner's parents started the business right on Forbes, so we're still in the same area, servicing Greater Cleveland. We've grown in the 5.5 years that I've been here. We've more than doubled. We are now in 4 states. We've got Ohio completely covered except for Toledo market. We are currently looking for there. Big reason, main part of my job is acquisition activity, so we are still on the path to grow. We currently have 22 locations. This is our service area. We're in Ohio, West Virginia, New York, and Pennsylvania. We also service Kentucky and Indiana, but we do not have physical locations there yet. 241 employees. We do service 22,000 patients. It amazes me how large a portion of our population is in need of medical equipment and medical services. In that area, we have over 8,300 patients on oxygen. Most of them need oxygen 24 hours a day, some just nocturnal at night when they sleep. And we have over 4,900 PAP patients who have to sleep with that apparatus on at night. I refer to this as the not so good old days, which was for me our prior to our Socius partnership and prior to my call to Frank, who I had dealt with from a prior life and a different employer. When I joined Medical Service Company, they were on what I will call an archaic dinosaur system. It had not been upgraded. They did not keep up with their upgrades. I won't say the name of it, but it was an accounting nightmare. Everything was very much Excel-based financial reporting. We do a little bit of Excel now, but anything we do outside of our 500 system, we import. So we've made great strides. In my 5.5 years, we've added 19 locations. We've doubled our revenue. We added a wholly owned C corporation, so I now have 2 separate companies. And we are on pace. We call it our strategic 5-year plan. However, I really like that Vision 2020 idea, and I think I'm going to take that back with me. The accounting system that they were using was 10 years old. So as soon as I joined the company, I knew I had to make some changes. I had used the Math 90 product for 18 years from the time I was 10. And I favored it. I had some experience with other software out there, but I always was a fan of the Math product. And so I knew I had to sell it. I had to convince our chairman and our CEO to make the spend. And that is when I reached out to Frank and Socius, because I knew the reputation. And I think the first couple meetings, Frank, I probably had 5 pages of questions for you. A lot of them I knew the answers. I knew the capability of the system, but I knew I had to sell it, and I needed him to help me to sell it. And it's been a great partnership. There were formulas everywhere. I've got a picture there that's me holding my head at the month-end close every time. It literally took us 15 to 20 business days to close our books every month because everything was in Excel. My biggest fear every month, I have to do a presentation in front of our board of directors or our executives, and I would constantly find errors, and it was just something went wrong with the formula somewhere because Excel sheets were looking to one another. It was bad. Partnering with Socius, the good days. We implemented Sage 500 in January of 2012. Because we're in healthcare billing, unfortunately, I wish the 500 product could handle healthcare claim billing, but you have to jump. After we set those patients up, it takes us a good 120, 180 days before we see any reimbursement for our services because we do the billing to Medicare, Medicaid, commercial insurances for the patients. And it's quite the challenge to get payment for the services. Everybody thinks healthcare is very lucrative. It's very challenging, actually. So for the 500 system, we are limited in what we can use as far as we cannot use the receivables piece. We do use the GL. We use the accounts payable, more so than I wish. And we use intelligence. And I would say the biggest bang for our buck has been the intelligence. I cannot be a stronger proponent for the intelligence component. and the features. And another thing that we added on was the RKL credit card reconciliation. We place $1 million a month on American Express to push out our payables day. It's a great cash flow trick. American Express is happy to partner with you to do this. They actually call on our vendors to convince them to use American Express. And to do that in our old system, Robin, our controller, is here today, and she had more hands-on experience with me, so I asked her when I was putting these slides together, what's the process we used to have to do to process our invoices that we wanted to pay with American Express every month? And she just shook her head and said, oh, we had to do credit memos against every invoice and then create a separate invoice for the ones we wanted to pay with American Express. That has all been taken away. With the RKL add-on feature, it's points and clicks of the mouse for our AP staff. And it's all automated. It does the journal entry behind the scenes for us. And definitely a great efficiency tool. If anyone hasn't had it or you're interested in it or using American Express to press out your payables days, I highly recommend it. Big factor when we were interviewing Frank for which of the Sage products we wanted to use was the fact that I had this extra or separate wholly owned subsidiary C Corp now, and I knew that we were going to probably end up with more. And I needed to have my payables people be able to be inputting an invoice across companies at the point of entry. In the past, we had to do all of this with journal entry in Excel and manually key it in. The 500 product does that wonderfully. It is on the fly at the time of the invoice. If they want to put 50% into one company and 50% across into the other, it's all handled. The system does the intercompany transaction and balances the two counts for us behind the scenes. I mentioned the American Express credit card vouchering and automatic payment. Journal entry import is wonderful. We use ADP for our payroll, and it now just automatically dumps into 500 for us after we make sure everything's right. We do have, because of all the locations, we probably have 10 to 12 departments within each location, so we account for a lot of separate little departments and a lot of separate entries, and every employee is split multiple ways. So to be able to do that through manual processes was just absolutely insane, and now it's all done automatically for us. The Drill Down Explorer, I have a little carve out here of one of the trend reports that goes to our managers. We have multiple reports that we have developed in the Sage Intelligence that we set them up, and then we just have our accounting staff do them every month. They just pull them up, and you can drill down automatically. It's a wonderful feature, and we can create little charts, and we just email them out to our managers at each of their locations so that they see trends to prior year, this year's spend against prior year and against their budget. They know this way that we're seeing it, makes them more accountable, and it helps us service them as our customers in finance. That is one thing I can definitely say that 500 has done. It has increased our efficiency, and it has definitely helped my finance team become heroes to the board of directors, to the internal managers. So, of course, I take all the credit. I'm just kidding. I definitely let them know that it's the 500 product, and then Socius has helped us get there. So where we're at today, we have enhanced financial reporting. We are timely, we're reliable, we're very efficient. We have easily formatted additions. I don't say that the numbers change for our audience, but I have to put different reports together depending on who my end user is for my financials. Examples being the management, the board of directors, and definitely the bank. It takes us 7 to 8 business days to close and publish our financials, which is my big woohoo, because if you recall prior slides, we're up to 20 days. The only reason we are at 7 to 8 business days is because that proprietary billing software that we have to use, I have to allow them 3 business days to get all the documents in from the deliveries and confirm orders, get those receivables cleaned up and ready for me, and all the cash posted from the prior month. So actually with 500, we are closing in 3 to 4 business days, which includes the payables, the journal entries, the allocations. My intercompany journal entries and my allocations that I do from a corporate, we'll say our office expense at our corporate office, whatever my department spends, I split that across 22 locations with multiple departments. We have, when I print it out, it's a 50-page report. I do that, the other day I checked, I do that with 4 clicks of my mouse every month now because it's all built in the system behind the scenes. So I can't thank you enough. Wonderful product. We are poised and ready for continued growth. As I said, my goal is to get us to that 50 million within a year or two. And I could not stand here and say that I'd be able to do that without the Sage product. So thank you.
Thanks, Dana. Sheila will tell us about GLT.
So everybody's eyes glazing over now? Or we need a seventh inning stretch or something, I think. I'm not going to concentrate on what our companies do so much because I'm really excited about what we do with Mass. But GLT is a family of companies. We have 11 companies running out of Mass. You can see some little statistics there. We were founded in 1956. We grew from a small regional distribution company into a global manufacturing, fabrication, and distribution network across the U.S. Across our companies, we have, slides changed, it's over 24,000 SKUs now, 170 employees in 8 locations. We have 11 companies. Some are manufacturing and distribution, some are manufacturing, one's a distribution company, some make custom products. It's a variety. So basically, the 11 companies are using Mass in 11 different ways, which makes people like Julie and Evan and I go crazy because when we're doing something, we have to remember what company and how they do things. Basically, we're a middle manufacturer. What did I do with the clicker? Did I grab the clicker?
You left it in front of me.
That was dangerous. These are the modules that we have. Not all companies use all modules. We don't have any extended solutions per se, other than Sage Alerts. Our ACT is our CRM, but not all companies use it. And it is not integrated with Sage 100. We were able to eliminate our extended solutions through Superscript or Evan. Sometimes those extended solutions were holding us up with upgrading because we had to wait for those business partners to get that solution to be able to work with the upgrade, and it was just slowing us down, and we wanted to move forward. So Evan was able to develop scripts that helped us move forward. At GLT, we manage a lot of information, and we were being reactive with some things, and we needed to be proactive so that our customers didn't see errors, basically. We wanted to automate some more processes, so we implemented Sage Alerts and Workflow, aka Knowledge Sync, and we utilized Crystal reports within those Sage Alerts. So here's an example. Our credit department is aware of payment issues when an order is placed and not after it's invoiced. How many of you have salespeople that will enter an order, sneak it back into the warehouse, and get it shipped out the door before your credit department knows it even exists? Come on, right? So with Knowledge Sync, within 5 minutes, our credit department receives an email, says the customer's current balance, what that order will do to increase to that balance, what their credit limit is, and that they're over. And here's the sales order number, and then they pick up the phone, they can stop it, they can call the customer, work out something for payment, and we can get that order going again. With all of our companies, we have a lot of recurring invoices, rent, utilities, insurance, things like that. Sometimes we don't get a bill in the mail, or somebody's off and it doesn't get entered. So at the 10th of every month, we have a Knowledge Sync that runs, and we created a UDF. Does everybody know what a UDF is? No? UDF is a user-defined field that we created and put into Mass. So we have a checkbox that's in vendor maintenance, and it just says reoccurring. We check it. That's the trigger for the Knowledge Sync. If no activity has taken place within 30 days, it sends a Knowledge Sync on the 10th of the month saying, hey, you don't have an invoice in, you need to pay this, and it helps. Notifications and report delivery help us serve our customers better, which basically is just summing up. I don't want to tread on Eric's presentation on Knowledge Sync or business alerts, Sage Alerts. My gosh, how many times are you going to rename it? Yeah, exactly. But those Sage Alerts do help us be proactive instead of reactive. I love distribution. Like Mary Jo used to say, I love distribution. I love inventory and distribution. So we wanted to improve efficiencies on our shop floor and in the warehouse. And we wanted to add instructions on specific items so that the warehouse could see these instructions, but the customers did not. So, for example, we have a blue widget, but it's blue widget 123, which is produced by one company, and then we have blue widget 123 is produced by another company. We keep it in the same inventory item on the shelf. But we know that customer A likes the widget produced by 123. We can put a note in the shop description that would say, okay, there's 2 vendors for this item. And that shop description is a UDF that we created that only prints on picking sheets. So the warehouse and whoever's doing data entry are the only people that see it. Our customer never knows. Another example is you don't want your customers to see your vendor's part numbers, right? Because they can Google it. So in order for the warehouse to pull the proper item, we'll put the vendor item number in that shop description. So, and it prints on the picking ticket, so when they go to pull it, it helps them pull that order more efficiently. It's really helped. I will not lie to you, the warehouse fought it at first, and now they rely on it. So they'll come and say, well, there was nothing like that in the shop description. I didn't know. Well, okay, so now you're relying on it, and our purchasing people will be more proactive at entering those things in there. We wanted to get better visibility into why customer credits were issued. Everybody has credit issues, I think. Whether it's pulling the wrong item, the order was entered incorrectly, customer didn't know what they really needed, right? Damaged in freight, whatever the case may be. So we wanted to identify what our credits were and why we were issuing them. So we created UDFs and a UDT, and when we enter our credit memos, we can select a credit reason. Could be damaged by freight, data entry error, customer satisfaction, and we built a crystal report so that we can see those results. I know I have a note in here that was really important, and I can't remember what it is. I know, right? You work with it every day, and then it slips your brain. So now, based on those reports, upper management has information on what items are affected and how often, why a credit was issued. Employees who are involved in any issued customer credits can receive a monthly report. We created this report not as a report card, not to ding the employee, it's to help them get better. So they can see how many orders they pulled incorrectly. As managers, the managers can see how many credits were because of my department. We're still working on it. Nobody's perfect. But it has been a useful tool, the credit reason and credit initials, UDFs and UDTs that we created. I will tell you that I've been around since the state-of-the-art days. I've been around Socius people a lot over the years. And let me just tell you, I did not go to school for IT. And on a scale from beginner to genius, he's over there, I'm at the dangerous level, where I will have these ideas, Frank knows, I will have these ideas, I'm like, we can do it, right? Sage 100 can do it, right? In a previous life, I worked with folks here that we sold things by a go pack. and we wanted to have a customer be able to place an order and watch their semi truck fill up because we had a half of a semi minimum order. These guys did it. And that was what, 8, 10 years ago? I was 20. Yeah. All I can say is use Sage University, use YouTube, use the customer portal, use the Ideas website. Do you guys know what I'm talking about when I'm saying these things? Yes? No? Yeah. They're valuable, valuable resources that you can do these things yourself or have these guys come out, walk you through the first time, and that way you can use them to do the more complicated stuff. Because now that we have a lot of this down, yeah, we got you working on a challenging script now, don't we? All right, thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. So while you're thinking of questions, because we do have a few minutes for questions, then we're going to take a break. First of all, I want to thank you three. It's really awesome for you to get up in front of the room and talk about your companies, but more, share what you've done with the products. And we like to be part of that. It's great to participate in it, but really these guys, these are examples of people that take the software to a whole nother level, and it can be done. While you're thinking, just again, in case there are any questions, there were a couple of things that came up during the presentations I wanted to point out. As Dana mentioned RKL, and for those, and then I think Sheila talked about extended solutions. So for those of you that don't know, there is an entire network of complementary products around Sage 500 and Sage 100 that are ISVs, that we would call them, independent software vendors, that create great solutions that transparently fit into your solution. Some of them they mentioned, some of them are out there. We're more than happy to talk to you about them. So, whether you're on this product or that product, there's something specific you're missing. These guys are great resources, but there are a lot of things out there that we could be helping with that you can think about. We've already talked about Visual Integrator. Again, a lot of you own it, because Dana mentioned a tool in 500. There also is a tool similar. So whether you own it or don't, importing and exporting in and out of these solutions is easy. You just need the tool, and you can connect. Because medical is a great example where everything's done third party, but we need something to draw it together, and it really is easy. And BIE, the Business Insight Explorer, was another one that's been mentioned a couple times today, and it's in both products. So it's something else. These are tools to leverage. And I love when we talk about scripting, because we do know Evan's the master. But there is a lot you can do with VB scripting around these products. And there are also, 500 is a SQL product, and there is now a SQL version of Sage 100. So that's something else that you can leverage if you haven't. And the last one was the UDFs. In both products, there's a customizer in 500, and you own Custom Office in most cases with 100. And inside of that is a tool that lets you add user-defined fields and things like that you can sort off of and report off of. I guess what I'm challenging you to do while we open for questions is think outside the box, okay? It's great. You all here have been using the software for a long time, and it's working. There's a whole nother level that you can go to that we're happy to help you with, and so are these guys and our partners. So any questions for these wonderful people? Oh, hand up. Okay. Dana.
Dana, you spoke about entering a transaction in one company and doing journal entry to record it in another company.
Prior to now, they can enter invoices and it can go right across.
It goes across. Is that available in Sage 100?
Okay, now we're going to move on to the next question. No. I'll make Lori answer it and Deborah. No, it is not out of the box. It is a Sage 500 native functionality. However, with that being said, and I don't know that anybody in the room is, but there is a product for Sage 100 that performs similar capability. It's not a Sage product. So there is something we can do. There's an ISV product that does that. Yes? See? I knew someone did. I didn't want to point people out, but no. CDC does use it. So it allows that intercompany do-tos and do-froms to be created automatically. And it really is mostly functional in Sage 100 for GL and AP, and that's similar in 500. So if you get into inventory and other things, we need to go a little farther.
Huge efficiency. I mean,
Absolutely.
it's well worth it.
Anything else? Yes?
Just clarity here. You've got Sage alerts and business alerts. We have
thought they were gone. Does
Well-
this still exist?
Business Alerts was a Sage module feature once upon a time. Really not there. Knowledge Sync is a vendor product for Sage. It works with either product, any product.
Business Alerts, it was an OEM agreement that we had with a company called Global Software. We did discontinue our relationship with GlobalSoft in light of the Sage Alert, because it is a much more robust solution. If you own the professional version, there's a deal, and Frank and the team can work with you to move over to the Knowledge Sync product.
Yeah, the professional version
Yeah,
of
the
Business
professional
Alerts.
version, because we did give away a free version that had like there was 5 alerts on a free version, but we're no longer updating those, no longer have a relationship with
It was cutting edge way back when it existed.
that. It was.
It's
It
not
was a great
anymore.
product.
It
It's
was.
still a great product, but the Sage Alerts does just so much more.
Again, you can unlock Knowledge Sync to run against as many databases as you want to. I mean, it's vastly underpriced for what it can do. I hate to say that, but it's
I love when he sells for me. So good.
But the ROI is priceless.
It is.
Thanks, Jeff.
There's your save.
You guys are great. So it is. So there's a difference in product. And as I mentioned earlier this morning, Eric and I are not going to be Tricia from Knowledge Sync, but we are going to give you an overview a little later in the last session of the day, and then we'll talk about what we're going to do going forward to make up for the fact that we can't do what she was going to do here today because of the car accident. But we are going to show it to you. Anything else? Oh, yes.
Question for maybe any one of you. We have sales orders that get changed. We already have the production router on the floor, and we need to notify them. We come out with a piece of paper, scratch it off, change it. Is there a better way?
Knowledge Sync.
Knowledge Sync.
Knowledge Sync can actually record the data that you have on your initial original sales order. You can trigger it to run on a scheduled basis. Maybe you want to make it every 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever. It will then go in and compare what it was since the last run. And you can actually trigger an alert off of it and say, okay, this has changed, and what are the changes? That's very similar to what we're doing right now with the rental scheduling reservations.
Unless you're running multi-company. If you have multi-companies, it's going to be a challenge to get that out.
That's true.
Just one, then you won't have a problem. Use Knowledge Sync.
Awesome. Anybody? Yes. Okay, there is a limit. No, I'm just kidding.
User-defined fields. The picture I saw, it looked like you had a lookup time to it.
Because we have a UDT tied to it, a user-defined table. So the user is limited to select anything that we've defined in that table.
When you create a user-defined field, it could be a date, a list, text, yes, no, checkbox.
Anything you
And so
want.
you can have a defined table they can select from.
It can also validate against another mass table if that module that you're trying to validate against is in the business framework. For instance, you couldn't validate against work order, but you could validate against something in AP or inventory, provided you're on 4.4 or higher.
If you're going to validate against the UDT, or if you're going to use a drop-down or a list in a customizer for UDF, you definitely want to validate against the UDT instead, because you can change the UDT on the fly. If you want to change the values in the drop-down, you have to get everyone out of the system. It's a lot more cumbersome. So if you want the user ever to validate, make sure you have it validated against the UDT.
Okay, and the accountant in me had no clue what he said, but no, I get it. Anything else?
Frank, one thing I'd like to just comment on, Jeff, the credit card processing. I think there was a really good point about the pre-authorization amount. With the 2013 release, the latest release that's out, we've changed that, so we don't need the custom field. So you can pre-authorize for any amount. And I think
and for folks who don't really understand what that meant when I said that was, there are only two industries that the credit card companies allow a post-authorization to be higher than a pre-authorization amount, and that's bars and restaurants, typically, because you're adding a gratuity. So if you are not in one of those industries and your post-authorization is higher than your pre-auth, it processes it as a separate transaction and leaves that initial pre-auth hanging out there as a liability on the original account. So that'll stay there for up to 10 days, depending on their bank. So it got a little bit more dicey once debit cards got introduced. Originally, when it was a credit card and people were only getting their statements every 30 days, it wasn't a big deal.
Great. Anything else? Okay. Well, thanks again, guys. That was awesome. Thank you.